I am really happy with how this turned out. Hello. So I've spent the last 2 weeks building backgrounds in my journal. Just spending a great deal of time playing. And the intention with this was just to, build backgrounds. So when I got to the real work of the journal, I would have a nice starting point that would be creative, so I didn't have to start from scratch every time. And it's been really interesting. I found this foundation laying just as meaningful as the actual journaling, and that surprised me a little bit. And one of the things that came to my attention was, that's what happens when the paint dries and you haven't pulled the pages apart, and I can just paint over that. But one of the things that came to my attention was to stop beating around the bush with what I'm wanting to do with these videos. But what I've been getting lately is that I need to share the profound experiences that I've had doing the creative journal process, and it's really been a medium or a tool for my awakening, and that's what this video and perhaps the future videos are going to be about. So when I begin a creative journal session, I start with my dual-handed activity that was given to me by Dr. Lucia Capacchione in her Creative Journal Expressive Arts method. And so, on one level, this process is good for getting your non-dominant hand involved in this process, because dual-handed journaling is a big part of the creative journal process. And another part is to help get your left and right hemisphere synced up. But then there's another more esoteric part that I've discovered, that the left and right side of your brains are smaller representations of polarity, the positive and negative force of the universe. And when these get unified, really amazing things happen. The creative force is able to more easily and intentionally participate in your life. And so, beginning with this process, it sort of acts as an invitation for my creative self to come out and play. And in the 10 years that I've done this Creative Journal Expressive Arts method, I have come to realize that, at least for me, my creative self is much, much more than what I ever thought as an artist. And so today's video is going to express that visually. Okay, so now I am primed. Now that I've got both of my hemispheres of my brain synced up through this process, now begins the journaling section. So I've got 4 questions, 4 prompts that I've set up, and I'm just going to write them right over my dual-handed doodle. So the first one is, to my creative self, what are you? And it says, I am that which is connected to the creative force of the cosmos. My next question is, how do you express yourself in my life? And the answer is, using your thoughts and feelings as my guide, I create the structure of your reality to mirror your thoughts and feelings back to you. And then how can we collaborate? And it said, by being more intentional with your thoughts and mindful of your feelings. And then the final question, what do you have to teach me? What do you have to teach me that you create your reality? And then you are a creator. Wow. So what I will normally do is take a photograph of this before I paint it, or I will rewrite it out because I end up using this as a foundation for my creation. So I'm just going to soak this in for a second. And this is going to be the foundation of the collage images that I select to give some shape and texture to my creative self. So what I'm going to do now and generally what will happen, this is Sharpie and it also works with regular markers, is this ink will bleed through the paint and words will peek out. And you know, so this part is about play. So it's an invitation for your creative self to participate in the image. And it doesn't have to look good. It's just about going with the flow. And engaging all of your senses. Like, I really like this sound. And so when I feel done with this part, we're going to let it dry and move on to gathering our images. And a magazine or two. And if you find that your dominant hand is wanting to take charge, I don't do this very often, but you can paint with your non-dominant hand. At some point I will do a video, a more thorough video on the power of the non-dominant hand, but basically, in a nutshell, Dr. Capacchione, the founder or the creator of the Creative Journal Expressive Arts method, believes that our dominant hand, which is the hand that we write with, is connected to the left hemisphere of the brain, which is where our language and communication centers reside, because us writing with our dominant hand is connected to our communication centers. And so our non-dominant hand by default is connected to the right hemisphere of the brain, which is where the more intuitive and creative side of your brain is. So I feel good about this for now. So we're going to let this dry, and then we're going to move on to gathering words and images that match with the information that my creative self shared with me. Okay, so I've selected 3 magazines. I really like this image. So this part is the grab what grabs you phase. So I'm not using my scissors. I am just selecting words and images that are in alignment with what my creative self shared with me. Okay, so I've got a pile of images here, and now that I've gone through the grab what grabs you phase, I'm going to look through these photos and kind of hold it up to what my creative self told me, and the ones that don't make it into this selection I'll set aside for a future collage. But one of the things that I got as I was searching for images, a phrase grew. Wonder grows in the garden of my heart and mind. I love this. Okay. I'm going to set this a little bit out of the way. All right, so the next step is my creative self. I love this image. She needs a tiger. Okay. Okay, so I know for sure that I want these 3 images in. I may use some of this background behind my collage. There we go. Okay, so I think I want that as a halo. I think that halo represents the cosmic aspect. And you know, after this gets finished, I will journal with this image, and I'm definitely going to be asking about that tiger. Okay, so I'm going to end the video for now and get these cut out nicely, and then I'll put it on the book and see if there's anything else that I would like to fit in. So I'll be back. Oops. I got most of my pieces cut, and I'm going to place everything before I do any glue down, just to make sure that it feels right. Okay. So this is the rough layout. You can use just regular school glue, but I'm going to use Mod Podge, which is a glue and a sealer, and just a little kid craft brush from the hobby store. It's my son's, actually. So when I added the fire to the tiger, it really had a feeling that this tiger represents the protector of my creative spark. I'm going to let this dry. Well, I went and did a few errands while the glue dried, and I'm really liking it. I went ahead and started adding a few embellishments, and I thought I should do that on the video. So it's definitely pretty without adding anything else to it, but I got these neat pens. They're oil-based paint pens, and I've never used them before, and I'm very curious about them. So I'm going to glue these last 2 pieces down, and then I'm going to play with these pens. Very nice. Okay, so I am going to embellish this halo with some gold. I like it. I'm not sure if I will add more. Probably. So I was planning on just gluing this down, but the more I look at this collage, I really want to do a lot of journaling with this, like with the elements. Like I would like to journal with the tiger and the light bulbs, and just pick out various elements of the collage and ask a series of prompts to each one, such as, what do you represent? Why did you choose to be in my collage? And when I first started doing this, I had some really profound results. So what I'm going to do with this instead is turn this into a multi-page booklet. This will be on the cover, and it'll have, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 pages in it, and I will do my journaling with each of these elements in this little booklet. So it'll be a book within a book. This is basically finished. I'm going to do one more coat of the Mod Podge sealer on it, and I will save this for a future video. But let's do a close-up of this. I am really happy with how this turned out. So I hope that you enjoyed this process, and I'm really liking, I don't know if you've seen any of the other videos, but this is a journal that I designed the cover for. It's a proof. I'm trying to cover up the proof. That is printed through Kindle Direct Publishing, and they're great little journals, and I was really, really happy with how it holds the paint. This was my very first one. So I will have a link in the description of my journal page that you can go look and get your own copy if you would like, because this might be my new favorite. I've always been a fan of softback journals for my collage books, just because it's so, I don't know what it is. Anyway, if you decide to do this process, I would absolutely love to see what you come up with. If you post it on your Instagram page, you can tag at the Joy Spring, and I will see what you have created. So again, have a wonderful morning, day, evening, or night. Bye.